story. We also wanted to make sure that we could teach them how to use this digital equipment because we know going forward this is going to be important in our patrons' lives. And finally, we wanted to make sure that our patrons would have an opportunity to create their own content and mount that on our embedded website. So sit back, let those carbs work, and let's see what happened.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Uh-oh. Hi, I'm Shanita Mack, and I'm currently the branch manager at the North Austin branch. And this project has provided me with the platform to build on and explore my interactions with our patrons. So let's take a look at how I took this opportunity to record the voices and stories of Chicago Public Library users, starting with longtime Austin residents Joanne Terrell and Dwight Woodson. Then we'll move on down to the south side of Chicago with my community representative, Oba William King, using storytelling and poetry to bring library patrons into the library. Then we'll end it off with a special film by our very own videographer, Andy Bullen.
If you only knew how many times we rehearsed this.
Children-friendly functions for her because she was labeled as special needs. So I would go to the Harold. We're going to have our meetings here. So the library is a very safe place to have meetings and socialize and network. And it's family friendly.
My name is Dwight Whitson. I am a resident of the North Austin community and also a patron of the North Austin branch of the Chicago Public Library. I enjoy this facility. It's pretty much like an oasis in the desert, or that truck stop after you put on 130 miles and your back is hurting and you need that cup of coffee and that cool breeze to stay awake. The resources they put at my disposal are very much appreciated and well needed. They extend from the computer library and services along with the technical support that they provide. The DVDs, the movies, I've viewed some excellent movies from the archives here. Very educational, very informative. The library selection of the magazines, National Geographic, Rolling Stone, Entrepreneur, they feature quite a broad selection.
Here's how to get freedom. Go to the library, get a little card, check out a book. It isn't hard. Read about your future, learn about your past. Knowledge you gain will last, last, and last, and last. And that's what you do to get freedom. That's what you do to get freedom.
So please see me later for the longer version, unedited version of Andy's film. But throughout this project, I have learned that sharing and capturing a story for generations to come can be done as easily as sitting across the table from someone or walking around the neighborhood with a few pieces of equipment. Taking the time to listen to diverse people has inspired me to continue sharing and recording our users. Thank you.
I'm Josh, and I work in West Garfield Park. Now, every day I go into that library and I see all around me personal, great, positive things happening. I see, a teen planting lettuce in the community garden. I see a guy sitting there quietly playing checkers with his grandson. Now, if you search for news articles on West Garfield Park, you get man shot and killed. You get, you see drugs and arrests and murders and theft. Practically everything going on record about the neighborhood is these tragic human stories after tragic human stories. Now, ILEAD U has given us tools to start putting on record the more personal and the more positive side of life in the neighborhood. And this collection should give you a feel for it.
Just look directly at the camera.
Yeah, just go like my name is, hi, my name is,
Hey, I'm Trayvon Gray.
I'm a man that loves to study, research.
Come to the library so I can find out new things instead of being on the streets like everybody else. And read books.
My name's Tamia.
I noticed about the community when I first came over here is, they always say curiosity always kills the cat. I was that cat.
I just come here and here. And it's basically kind of like a sacred place.
The library fits, to me, it fits like a jigsaw puzzle.
And my favorite color is purple, blue.
When you put those pieces of that jigsaw puzzle, you all know the solution.
Pink.
Hi, my name is Naisha Lopez.
I love Chicago. I love it. I love the people that's in Chicago. Doesn't matter what color.
My favorite part about living in this neighborhood is because I can trust it. I can come to this library and I could just do me. Be myself.
We all in the same boat. When it's going to take a fist to bring us back to shore.
At first I was kind of put off because it's so hard to take kids to the library, especially when they're not quiet, but libraries are being more adaptive to children now.
To bring us back on dry land, to iron out our differences toward each other.
What you got in your hand?
I'm a big movie guy. I always want, and especially a book guy. In the future, I want to be an actor, director, and an author. That's those are my biggest aspirations. Yeah.
Okay. And when you're in video game, what do you do?
I focus.
I like being on a computer. It helps me with my homework and keep me busy when I'm bored.
Yeah.
You want to go?
It seems more welcoming and stuff, so it's a big plus for parents like me, especially when you have an abundance of kids.
Anyone can come here and learn just by observing. Look at the place, look at the community, look at the people. Listen. It's the key thing. It's listening.
So check it out. We are listening, and by doing so, we're really showing that we know the value of these stories and the value of these lives.
Hello, my name is Kristen Edson. I work at the Harold Washington branch of the Chicago Public Library in the Social Science and History Department. The first video that I'm going to show you is one of our regular members. She comes in almost every day. She gets the same 2 books from the reference desk, and she's always chatting with the librarians. And that's part of the reason why I asked her to be a part of the ILEAD U program that we developed. And she was so excited and so happy that I actually asked her. And while this video focuses more on how libraries have impacted her life, I'm sure that the next story that she tells will be even more personal.
I'm Lori Bennett, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the importance of libraries in my life. I was 5 when I got my first library card at the Gail Borden Public Library in Elgin. And the way I got it is the only requirement was that you had to be able to write your name. So my father taught me how to write my name, took me down to the library, stood me on a chair, and I'm sure I wrote it very slowly, but it worked, and I got my card, and I had that library card until I graduated from high school. I probably went to the library once I got to an age where I could go by myself, which was 4th or 5th grade. I went to the library every week, and I always checked out at least 5 or 6 books, and I would walk them home and I would read them. I got very caught up in them. I could read for hours, and I could read to the point where you couldn't talk to me because I wouldn't hear you. But now I am at the Harold Washington Public Library, and I love it. I think it's wonderful. I love the gargoyles on the outside. I love the way it looks, and I love being here. And I always go to the 6th floor because the 6th floor is where the books are that I want. I know every single librarian because I've been coming here almost every day for 4 years. And that may sound strange, but this is my second home, sort of. And I like to come here. I feel very comfortable with books, and I like to be surrounded by them. I have a lot of books at home, and sometimes I even have duplicate books of the books that I have here. But it makes me feel very restful, very comfortable, and it's a good way to start the day. I always come at 9 o'clock so that I get the best seat. Not that there's a problem with getting the best seat. But I love the library. I think the people here are terrific. They watch out for me and make sure that I get everything that I need. And I just love it. I enjoy it.
I'm not done yet. But like many other libraries, especially urban libraries, another section of the population that is our regulars are the homeless people. And I really wanted to get them involved, but that was a lot more difficult than I had anticipated for this short window of time that we had. But I was able to make a personal connection with a local group called Thresholds. They already have a partnership with the library, and they sat down and talked with me to give me an introduction and all of you to what it is they do.
We are Threshold's Library Linkage project. We provide outreach services to folks who are experiencing homelessness and have a mental illness. Thresholds provides community-based services to persons with mental illness. We're the biggest agency of our kind in Illinois. We believe that persons with mental illness can recover and live independent, fulfilling lives in the community of their choice.
While we're here at the library, mainly we kind of walk around and meet people in kind of booths and stalls, wherever they might be. We're a big proponent of kind of meeting people where they're at, so kind of trying to find out what kind of services they need and what they're looking to get help with. Oftentimes we start off with kind of IDs. People need help getting identification, and then we use that to build a relationship such that we can then help them kind of work towards obtaining Social Security benefits, medical care, seeing a psychiatrist, housing, and anything else that they may want.
We're pretty much a completely mobile team. So while we have an office, we kind of camp out here at the library and at the shelter. and not just meet people kind of at what kind of stage in their goals they are, but physically where they're at too, what corner of the library they're most comfortable with, the table they prefer to sit at, what floor they like to be on. Some people prefer to meet us outside, so we might meet them outside in the park. We also accompany people to appointments, Social Security and medical and psychiatric appointments as well, to be there with them through that process.
So we get a lot of referrals, not only from the library staff, but also from people that we get while we're outreaching and walking around. If people don't meet the criteria for our program, we refer them to other programs and services that are around in the area so that they can access those. Mainly, we have a lot of people sometimes who don't necessarily are interested in working with us, and so we just kind of say hello for a long time and just get to know them. We've luckily been able to kind of expand the program over the last few years. We hope to be a presence here in the library for many years to come.
So through this project, I was able to approach my patrons in a new, unique, and personal way, and I'm very grateful for that. So here's John.
Hello, my name is John Telly, and I would like to start my segment just with a quick question. Just by a show of hands, how many people in the room have at least 3 siblings? Oh, quite a few. I think those that raised your hands, you'll have an understanding and appreciation for what I'm about to share. When I was a kid, very often I didn't really have to be introduced or identified by people. They could just look at my face, look at the way I dressed, the way I walked, the way I talked, the way I laughed, and they knew immediately, oh, he's a Telly. I know that family, he's a Telly. Even today as an adult, just recently my wife, Andrea, and my sister-in-law were joking that my brother Dan and I could switch lives and nobody would really notice. So I guess the point I'm making is, well, that when my brothers and I and my sister get together, we don't see that. All we see are the differences. We see 5 very different people. And I think librarians are very much the same way. And I wanted to demonstrate that point with the video that I created for this presentation. It's a short profile of a couple of librarians from the Chicago Lawn Branch Library in Chicago. I think initially when you start watching it, you may think, oh, they're not like us. They're different. But if you watch, and I think you'll come to the same conclusion that I did, that they're very much a part of our library family. This building is located at 62nd Place and Kedzie Avenue on the southwest side of Chicago. Between 1929 and 1960, it housed the Chicago Lawn Branch of the Chicago Public Library. This is a photo taken in 1949, 20 years after the branch opened, and it shows some of the staff that worked at the branch during those first 2 decades. In the lower left corner is Florence Richards, who was at the branch when it opened in 1929, and, except for a few years she spent at the Douglas Park branch, stayed at the branch until she retired in 1950. She managed and undoubtedly mentored many of the men and women pictured here, including Elizabeth King. She's the one in the back row, and she was the longtime children's librarian. During those first 2 decades, the branch expanded from 2 storefronts to 5, and 3 sub-branches were opened on the south side. They were also supervised by Florence. And also in the 1930s, a room in the basement was remodeled and opened for use by the Chicago Lawn Women's Club, the Chicago Lawn Historical Society, and many other community organizations. This is a photo of a meeting of a camera club that was held in that basement. Years later, a Chicago Tribune article from 1950 mentioned that Florence had an interest in photography, so it must have pleased her that this group used the library space for its meetings. And it wasn't just meetings. In 1935, there were 929 emergency education program classes that were attracted an attendance of 9,670 people. These EEP classes were a Depression-era program that brought in people to teach adult classes on a variety of topics, such as shorthand, English, citizenship, sewing, bookkeeping, and many other subjects. Near the end of her time at Chicago Lawn, Florence organized a neighborhood project. She managed to get a motion picture camera, and she filmed a documentary about the neighborhood. It included many of the streets, businesses, schools, churches, and parkland that surrounded the branch, but mostly it shows people. They were undoubtedly her patrons and her neighbors. The library was also the hub of activity for children's programs. Here's Elizabeth King in nearby Marquette Park with a group of children. Don't let the clothing, the hair, and the stiff pose fool you. She's listed in the 1940 census as being the head of her household that included her mother and a lodger. She must have been considered somewhat of an expert on children's reading because her presentations and programs at local PTAs and schools were mentioned in newspapers numerous times over the years. Now, this is a photo of a student group that visited the Chicago Lawn branch from Christopher School, a school for disabled children. These children cannot be identified, and the challenges they faced will remain a mystery, but it seems clear that they had a pretty good day at the library. And here is a photo of CPL 5. There's Shanita Mack, who's a former children's librarian and now a manager of the North Austin branch, and she's establishing these connections with patrons and organizations in her community, just as Florence Richards did. There's Kristen Edson, who interacts with the homeless, a group that is marginalized in our society but is welcomed at the library, something like what Elizabeth King did as a children's librarian who welcomed disabled children, a marginalized group of a different kind. There's Josh Farnham, whose branch in West Garfield Park provides a space to the Tolton Adult Education Center in a way that Florence Richards opened up the basement 70 years ago to community groups in Chicago Lawn. Of course, there's Joan, who certainly leads and mentors this group of ours, and I'm well aware of how my efforts to show the history of Chicago Lawn branch echo the efforts of Florence Richards, who helped establish the Chicago Lawn Historical Society and housed their collection in the library. The collection, by the way, where I found most of the images displayed in this video. And we're all using cameras to capture the people, the story, and the history of our communities. Didn't someone else do something like that back in 1948?
I just wanted to say one last thing about that video, and hopefully this doesn't need to be said, but I'm not trying to say that was a golden time and a golden age of librarianship that we have to get back to. If there is such a thing as a golden age, I have a feeling we're probably living in it now. But I do feel like we've been given a legacy from the librarians that came before us, things like community involvement, openness to new technology, openness to people other than library staff using our space for their own purposes. That's something that I think has been around a while, and it kind of makes me feel good that I'm still working in that same tradition. And Joan?
So, same assignment, 4 different people, 4 different locations, 4 very different interpretations. That's why we're so pleased that we had the opportunity to do this project. In order to play it forward, we created 5 of these backpacks. We distributed the equipment that we purchased based on your grant, and we're going to ask our senior staff to recommend 5 new locations where these will be distributed. And as I mentioned this morning, we also created a toolkit so that people don't have to start from scratch. In here we have considerations and questions for them to ask themselves to see how they want to approach using this equipment. We have legal waivers for the people who we do record. We have marketing materials so that they can understand that they have to be proactive in enticing their patrons to participate in this project. So, because of the very lovely Donna, this is also included in the packet of material that was distributed on Monday. So you all have a copy of this, should this interest you, or if you already have this project going at your library, maybe there's some questions in here that from our experience will help you refresh your program. Thank you so much for your attention. Everybody in front. Everybody just sits there going, oh, the pasta seller just did that. So does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Where exactly are you're databasing these in one centralized location, and what is that address or URL or whatever?
Because they're recording.
Yeah. Sorry, moving around. Did everyone hear the question? It was, where are we holding all of these recordings and what format are we using? We're in the process of establishing a new database, a new website based on BiblioCommons. So our webmaster has told us that there will be an embedded space for our videos via YouTube, a YouTube site that we control, own. And we film these and we'll save them in MPEG-4. So does that answer your question? Okay. Other questions? If not, we'll come up with questions for you. Yes, Karen.
Not a
Well, Karen, I hate to tell you, there were hours where we were crying too, but probably for different reasons. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Beck. Yes, the Chicago Public Library has out. Oh, I'm sorry. She's asking if we are going to talk to the Chicago History Museum once we have a larger database, talk about sharing our ideas. We have a cultural partnership with every museum and cultural institution in the city of Chicago. We partner with them frequently, so that is something down the road. Part of the issue, though, of course, becomes the technology, what they use, what we use, blah, blah, blah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What's been the reaction from your colleagues?
Okay, I have one colleague in particular. She is so happy and excited that we're doing this. She's wanted to do it for a long time, and ILEAD just kind of gave us the platform to be able to do that. You know, she's been at several branches and always tried to figure it out. So she's ecstatic, and if I can pass this off to her, trust me, I'm going to. I need a little break.
Yes. And maybe you already said this and I somehow missed it, but what's in the bag?
Okay, in the bags, and we actually have a list in here of everything we bought, brand names and everything, and the cost. But in here we have the camcorders that we use, the headphones, the audio recorders, the microphones, all the extra memory cards, wires, and everything that's on the table. The only thing that's not in the kit, and little tripods. The tall tripod will lend out, and then we have 2 lighting kits like that, which will also lend out when people ask for them. And last question, Mary.
You created the 5 kits that you guys use, so are you going to continue recording the stories at your branch, or at this point is the hope that it's going to go out through your system?
We have a meeting with senior staff on November 4th where we're doing a full presentation to them, and they'll make that determination, but my guess is they will want to move this on to the next 5 locations. We have 80 branches, so this is going to take a time. Okay.